Leaders have layers, shaped by stories and struggles that are often unseen. In each episode, we peel back those layers, hearing from leaders whose paths may look nothing like yours, yet whose insights will feel strikingly relevant. You'll walk away with fresh eyes, ready to disrupt the status quo. This is Outsider Unscripted. Welcome to this episode of Outsider Unscripted. Our guest today is my friend and colleague, fellow West Point graduate, Alton McCallum. He's calling in from Belton, Texas. Alton is the founder of Insight Counseling and Training Center and Insight Health Solutions. And I've just had the pleasure of working with him a bit on some different efforts in the training, coaching, mental health space. And excited for our conversation today. Alton lives with his wife and their 4 kids, and we're going to get going. So, Alton, welcome. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamey. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about our conversation, man. Anytime we get together, we always kind of end up in the deep end. So I appreciate our conversation. Has always been impactful to me, man. So,
yeah, likewise, I consider it a kind of a treasured part of any week if we get to sit and talk a little bit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. So first thing, just if you could let us into a little bit like where do you come from originally? Where were you born, grow up, and then and a little bit about where you are now.
Oh, definitely. So I'm basically grew up in Maryland, so Frederick, a little north of DC. I'm one of 11 kids. My father was did some military time. Then he eventually worked for the Department of Defense. And then I graduated from high school in Frederick, then went to United States Military Academy where I played football and did track and field for 2 years while I was there. Traveled through the military, different places across the states, I think just similar to you, from Kansas to Texas to Oklahoma to Milwaukee, and then including Iraq and Afghanistan, and then finally settled now into Central Texas, where me and my family have kind of settled in and enjoyed what Texas has to offer.
So Army football and track and field. What position did you play, and what were your events in track and field?
Okay, so in college, I played for football. I was a fullback. Transitioned from a halfback, I did prep school year at West Point Preparatory School and played halfback. Switched to fullback as a freshman. And then did fullback. And then my last year, it was an H-back / tight end. We went from, traditional what we ran, the wishbone and all that to a pro set type offense at Army. So I had the fun of, doing both of those. And then track and field, in college, all I did was shot put. Prior to that, I would run like short sprints, so 60 and the 100. So
we're recording this right in the middle of we're at the end of Wild Card Weekend, but this is going to air after pro season is finished, after football is done, and kind of in this like for some fans it gets into this very kind of dark period of in between the football seasons.
Yeah.
So I want to hover here for a second. What's it like for you many years later watching Army football? What was the season like for you as a former player?
Last year was a great season, man. And, hype and so many wins and, just that national attention. This year was good, man. What I really drew out of was just the resilience of kind of around the time that I played, right? We had to really be resilient, get hit in the mouth, got to hit them back, right? You got to, kind of play through the injuries, play through the changes and transitions. So it was good to see, man, from kind of where we started to the end of the year, still made a bowl game. Was proud of the guys, how they worked through every adversity to reach it. And I think, man, we're actually poised to have a great year again next year, man. So I'm excited about that. And I'm planning to actually attend some games. I didn't do any this year. So next year, I'll go ahead and plan some of that with some of my teammates that we played ball with this year. And I'm excited to do that, man.
Love it. What about NFL? Do you have a team? You have teams?
Yeah. Man, I got one team that I don't really say anymore. It was always my favorite team was the Raiders, man. They have been rough for a couple of years now. Yeah.
That's been hard.
Yeah. But for Maryland, man, I like the Ravens, and they've, man, missed it by a field goal, so
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
playoffs. But definitely both teams, man, I like them. Excited to see what their progression will be too.
And we've got the final coming up with college football. Do you have a pick?
And I'm really impressed by Indiana. I want Indiana to win, man. Like I didn't, initial, everybody kind of said, well, they're good. They probably, who have they played, man. But the last 3 games, this man, they're kicking people in the teeth, man. So I
Yeah.
would love for them to win, right? Miami's really, I mean, they're hitting
They've
people
been
in the
showing
teeth
up.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
are.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
they
gonna be a
are.
good game, man. And for Indiana, I think that's gonna really prove their mettle, man. But
Yeah.
I think I want Indiana to win it, man. I like the coach too. I like his
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah. My brother's a big Miami fan, and I like Indiana. I'm okay either way, but I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah, for
think it
sure.
will. And of course, all the listeners are now going to be judging us because they know how it played out by this time. So
Yeah,
that'll be good.
yeah.
So I want to jump into something that I know maybe could be a little bit more sensitive for you, but it's really recent, and I know you and others in this category don't talk about it a lot, but you are a recipient of Purple Heart, so wounded in combat, and I know you had a situation recently that years and years later,
Yeah.
almost decades, and wondering if you can talk about it, because some of where I think we'll go is just talking about like real life stuff and how our brains and bodies process. So love to hear a little bit from you, as much as you're willing to share.
Yeah. Um, so to share the story a little bit, for us, we went to Maryland. So from Texas, we went to Maryland just to spend some time with family over the holidays. And on our trip back to Texas, we we were driving and we were going through Atlanta, and we stopped in Atlanta to get something to eat. Right, it had been some time, and whenever you child, like you said, I have 4 kids. Whenever you're traveling with a 5-year-old and all the way up to some teenage boys, man, food is really important. And with me too, I like to eat too. So it's not just them. So one of the as we were going to get something to eat, man, we happened to take off an exit, and it said there was a particular food place that we wanted to go to. And as we're going down the road, man, trying to find it, it took a little while. We didn't find it, but as we were coming through an intersection, we just heard this big like crash, like it was like it almost sounded like a glass shattering, metal type sound, and didn't know what it was. But as soon as we came through an intersection, we got getting hit with a bullet. And I didn't know that until I had turned around and parked and tried to see what it was. My kids were like, "What was that?" It was quite loud. So I got out, looked, and inspected it. Man, it was like it was obviously a round had punctured through the outside of the truck that we were driving. Mm, Man, I just remember, like for me, it brought back a lot of the things. Right, I have a Purple Heart. I served in Iraq, in Sadr City, then in Helmand Province in Afghanistan. So quite consistent contact and warfare. But it brought me kind of right back to those, man, where we would almost get ambushed going through an intersection or before an intersection. And it was just the same, man. And I remember being very, very angry, just seeing people obviously scattering because there were people outside that heard it and just kind of started running from that corner. And, I remember going back to it and really like, man, you know, seeing people, seeing things. And if I can think back to many other times, other places where you have the authority and ability to start questioning and moving about, man. But at the same time, so absolutely helpless because you got hit and my whole family was in the car, man. Like, so that hit pretty close to home for me. Um, I remember kind of having to walk and pace just to settle down because you can't expend all that nervousness or that energy that's on your nervous system now, right? We've been trained to react. We've been trained to kind of do whatever is necessary to kind of take care of those type of situations and keep our loved ones safe, but couldn't do anything, man. Had to just sit there and wait for the cops kind of to come. No one checked on us, even though there were people on the corner. Like it was just so many different things. You can feel isolated, angry. So, when the cops came, a cop came. He didn't think it was a bullet hole because I think the round had tumbled or it had been so wide. And then it was a large caliber too. So it had folded a bigger space than just a narrow bullet hole. So basically he just gave us a police report saying, I'm not sure what exactly that was. And we looked through, nobody was hit and all that stuff. So we continue on. I drove for a little bit, man, but I had to be like, hey, I'm kind of angry. I shouldn't be behind the wheel right now. So transition with my wife, but we made it home that next morning. And as we were like pulling in the driveway, I live by a sheriff, man. I wanted to get a second opinion. I was like, hey, I talked to my neighbor, like, hey man, come check this out with me. Cause I know what it would look like downrange, the different ways that, when I first went there, we were in not the armored Humvees in Iraq. We were the ones where we added some armor a little bit later. So I remember how things kind of tore through our vehicles then. So, I asked him and then he was like, oh yeah, that's definitely a bullet. This is what I've seen, something like that as it's expanded a little bit. And then my oldest son was cleaning out the side pocket of that door, and it hit on my middle son's door. Like if it had punched all the way through, it would probably hit him in his hip and kind of went across the seat, would hit probably three of our kids, 2 or 3 of our kids, man. But that's a harrowing thought. But he picked up the trash, just throwing the trash away, and then he felt the metal, man, and he felt the shrapnel that actually had gone through the door. And that night I couldn't see. I checked everybody, checked the side of the door, and I didn't see any obvious holes through the door. But then I saw on the side of it that when it was light and we were looking through, it had broken through the plastic of the door, right? The portion that would, if it went all the way through, would have went and hit someone in the car. It had pushed through, but it like hit it and crumbled, but it cracked plastic. So man, for me, man, like seeing that again, obviously, a lot of emotions came back. Thought of, my times downrange, but, eerily enough though, man, it brought me, I'm a man of faith, man, and it brought me back to many times, especially when I, was initially went to Iraq. Many times we would be walking down the streets, doing patrols, doing different things, man, and being protected from things that I didn't even know were there, or an ambush that was about to happen. And I was thinking just about how God can, and how his provision, his protection is there, even when we don't even know that we need it. Who would think in Atlanta? Well, maybe some people that know Atlanta may think that, but I didn't think Atlanta. I used to hang out there when I was younger and all that, man. And I thought I was far enough away from downtown that I would, have a bullet hit and potentially harm my family. So I think I shared with you, you're the one of the conversations I had, after that. And one of the things is imagine having, I forget what your question was, but it made me pause, man, and say, man, I never thought I would have. I think you asked that. You said, man, you didn't think you would have another one of those things in your hand, huh? Right?
Back here.
Yeah,
Back here.
in the
Yeah.
States. Yeah, the mangled
Yep.
bullets, man. Had them in Iraq, Afghanistan, and then also in Atlanta. Right. So I think all that, man, kind of just, one, makes me feel more alive again. It connects me back to where I was. But it kind of got me to think about some of the things that we see, man, like the ICE incident, where the young lady was killed, and other things, man. Like for me, that I've been through some of those things before, so I could really register, and I'm a professional in the mental health field. So my nervous system and all those things, and how we respond to fear, right? Or, surprise, or any of those type of things. And how long it took for it to come off my system. It took about 2 nights to really feel it off my system. But thinking about the young lady that's overcome with fear, her reactions are gonna be, right? Who knows what they're gonna be? I can imagine if I had a weapon in my possession, then I may have done something crazy, right? Or silly, right? That you can quarterback way later on and say, you know better than that. Man, a lot of times when we're hijacked by our that fight or flight or just survival, or even trapped in a memory from our past that feels present, we could
Yeah.
do many, many different things, man. So I think about that, and then like the ICE agent that shot, there is so much fear and response in that. And it's not just a clean, well, I hate you and I did this. Nah, man. We're talking about some of our biology and those things. So it just reminded me of those type of things. And thank God that I have brothers and people that are around me that know where I've been, can identify with it, my wife, and say, hey, I know that probably brought something up, and they're able to
Yeah.
check on us. So
Man, thanks for sharing that. I know that's deeply, deeply personal. And as a dad too, I can't imagine.
yeah,
Again, like it's one thing, like you and I have gone places where we're at risk, right? And we're
yeah,
we're in a situation, we deploy, do that. But to have that sort of
mm,
threat
yeah,
with family, that's just a
yeah, man.
whole nother thing.
Mhm.
And I think for those listening, I hear so many layers in it of folks I think that can identify for sure, from like veterans to first responders to parents,
Yeah,
just thinking about dangers and risks that happen or tragedies that happen
yeah,
in families. And then I think, of anyone that's had a traumatic experience
mhm,
at whatever level, and how, to your point of how those things kind of stay they shape us.
yeah,
They're part of how we operate in everything. And then for anyone listening that is not any of those, just a window into some of those areas, I think it's really profound. Um, we did some work last year, you and I, last couple years, on working directly with law enforcement and police and talking about some of these things. And I remember being struck by, as we sort of blended our material together to do a presentation, I remember some of the language that you used, and you alluded to some just now, of one of how so often police in our culture end up being a sponge to kind of soak up
yeah,
toxicity, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
and I've heard this said often. It's like nobody's calling if you're a cop, or paramedic. Nobody's calling you on their best day,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's their worst day, and
mhm,
you may get a dozen of those calls, more, whatever, um, in a shift, and it's like just continue to soak it all up. And any of us that use sponges, whether washing a car or whatever, if you don't rinse that sponge out,
yeah,
it gets nasty, it gets dried out, and and that's what happens to our souls when we're
mhm,
pulling in that
yeah,
toxicity. And you use the language too of just metabolizing. I think you said that a few minutes ago, of how our brains and our bodies have to process. So I guess I would ask you to talk a little bit about the science of it. I know this is an area you've delved deep into, and then if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your own experience in trying to navigate that when um, I know you've been a police chaplain, and when you're out on a site, like how you've done some of that, and making those choices to navigate things that bring things up for us.
yeah, yeah. So I guess the first thing I would say is, what I'm talking about and what we're talking about isn't just an easy thing, right? I think that's the commentary that we hear a lot is, hey, well, you should be able to control that, or you should be able to deal with that. It shouldn't bother you that much. No, we're all humans, in the human condition. We have a lot of suffering and things like that that we all have been a part. So your story is really important to how you can navigate it. So one of the analogies I like to use is just what you mentioned, that sponge. And for a law enforcement officer, you're not called on the times where everybody's calm and everybody's, excited to see you. Some may be appreciative that you've come and you've brought some security and protection. but most of likely there's a bunch of mixed emotions and uncertainty, things like that when you're showing up on the scene. So we know a lot of our work, we say it in the mental health field, is it's not just communication and word to word. It's actually nervous system to nervous system that you're actually communicating and working with other people, right? So we do a lot of things and say, if someone like an escalation or de-escalation, if someone escalates, we got to kind of maintain and stay low and not get too excited. And thinking about that, when you think about a law enforcement as having officer having to arrive on scene, and everyone's frantic with activity, all those type of things, and you have to project staying calm, but being able to swiftly react. And those things are things that you have to train, and we train the skills just like we did in the Army, Jamey. Is we train to go and see and lift our weapons and turn and orient and all that stuff. But I don't remember them telling me, besides control your breathing when you're pulling the trigger, but besides that, hey, how do I actually stop this buzzing or this excitement that can cause a lot of erratic or erroneous behavior, right? So that's kind of, some of the background. But when you think about that, no matter how many calls, and a law enforcement officer isn't just going to respond to one call in a day. It's repetitive. It's repetitive on their shift and then their next shift. So there's many things that unless you have a process and way to clean that sponge, which you are for our community, you go into the dark places, you go into the places that are full of fear, full of trepidation and anxiety and worry. And you're supposed to go in there and we as humans, we know that we absorb energy, we absorb emotion. And what do we do? So as a sponge, we're absorbing all this, but where do we get to wring it out? Where do we actually clean the sponge? And it has to be a practice in which you have to do that. And that's part of your care. We talk a lot about self-care, but a lot of those things are the physical, right? Like we talk about, hey, I need to go work out. I need to go and do, maybe shoot, go do some things that I like to do. But where do I actually begin to clean the things that begins to cloud, like the glasses of our soul that makes us look at people or respond to people from cloudy lenses, right? So that's kind of the area that, in my chaplaincy work, responding to, infant mortalities and other things like that, man, that, I'm a father, right? And I have young kids, and having to respond and seeing the hurt of a parent, the wail, right? I remember the very first time in Iraq that I heard the old biblical wails, right, of the women putting the dust and things on their hair. And man, there's no sound like that, right? I mean, and then hearing that here as I do chaplaincy work, and I'm helping to notify or that I'm present when at the scene when an infant dies, and just hearing the wail, man, it pierces our our own soul, right? Let alone the mother, the father that is actually dealing with, and how we kind of respond. So for me, man, that's where the soul and the spirit has to really be something that you begin to take care of. Law enforcement, we know that we're so focused on going to the next thing, taking care of people, that we forget taking care of our own soul and our own spirit. How do I revive my soul, right? How do I revive my spirit? How do I get all back into life? Because the things that we see sometimes are so horrific, whether it's on the highway and you have to respond to an accident and see the remains, other things. How do I get from seeing the awe of destruction or the things that are horrific to, man, I gotta make sure that I'm in touch with the all of the goodness or the side of life that brings hope and good, not just good emotions, but good thoughts and hopes for the future, right? So kind of making sure that you have ways to do that. For me, I talk about this place of exchange. I'm a man that has a Christian faith, and in that there's always a place of exchange that I can always go to in worship and prayer and all that. And I do that consistently. where part of my faith, and I believe it 100%, is he says that bring me your burdens, bring me those things, right? Bring me those things that are clouding your mind, that are weighing you down, and I will take those. You can leave them there with me, and I can give you peace. I can give you other things like joy, the fruit of the spirit, and having a practice of where I can exchange. Like, hey man, today sucked. Like after the thing in Atlanta, man, that next morning, hey, here I'm in my office at home. Like, here, God, I need you to take this because I'm feeling all this. I'm feeling all this. I need you to take it. So having a process that you do that, and it looks so many different ways. I've done it in my office. I've done it on a walk down through the ridges here along the lake. But wherever you can pull those things in, and it refreshes or renews your mind, it renews your spirit, right? And for me, the outcome of it is it doesn't make me want to quit the hard thing. It actually equips me more again to say, hey, you were made to do this. You were equipped to do this, and go back and do that, right? And I think I take that from football a lot, right? Is man, there's many times, man, as a fullback, you have to always run through the gap, and whether or not you get the ball or not, man, that DN is kind of tackle. They're gonna hit the side of your head every time, man. And I remember days and games where it's like, man, I don't want no more of this, right? I could think this. It was actually the back of my mind, man, like, I don't want no more of this. But all right, get back out of there. So that tenacity, but it's also seasoned with compassion for ourselves, right? And empathy that is really important for those that we work with, and then also for those that are alongside with you, like your family and partners.
So let's say for someone listening that's a leader, and let's say I'm that person. I'm like, I'm not in this high risk. I'm not a first responder. Haven't been military. I'm just leading in my organization and trying to both be the best myself, but also help to raise up those who follow me. How is this relevant to those leaders?
Yeah, I think the commonality, that's a great question, Jamie. I think the commonality is this thought that, it's whether you're a first responder, it's almost a thankless job, right? It's an expectation that you do it, right? Like, hey, that you go see the accident, you go see someone that just committed suicide, you have to deal with that. And sometimes you get thanks, but not all the time, right? It's like, hey, this is expected of you. And as a leader in your family, sometimes as a father, I can relate with that, right? As a mother, or even in your business organization, right? This is expected. Oh, you founded the company, or you've done this. It's just kind of expected to give and take care of others. And sometimes when that comes up, if you begin to have these stains or these feelings that go past just emotion to, we talk about bitterness, we talk about some of those things that kind of begin to go past just emotion to states, right? Right. We talk about states, and then we kind of go to traits, a bitter person, right? Or something like that. So like in all these things, like there's a practice to it. Like, even if it's not just going, I have to be a first responder, it's just day to day as a father, right? And I talk to quite a few men, is the expectations, you're the protector of your family. But, for me and my thoughts and philosophy, I'm the primary trainer of everybody in my family, my kids, right? To who they need to be and what they need to learn. And sometimes that is you're the agitator, right? You're the one that, hey, we got to get out here and do this. You say you want to do this, let's go, right? So you're the agitator, and sometimes you don't want to be that, right? It's just, man. But then you're missionally driven for it. So, having the practices of having compassion for yourself when you're not actually acting or living up to your aspirational goals, right? The aspirational desires and plans that you have for yourself. But then whatever your restorative practice that is, we can put them in all the categories: physical, mental, spiritual, right? Social, relational, that you are consistently doing that as a pattern of life, right? Every day we drink water, every day we eat, but taking care of ourselves goes way beyond just the physical. So what is the daily thing that you're recharging your battery? What are you doing to do that emotionally, relationally, right? Spiritually, even in your soul? One thing that I realized, or not realized recently, but like kind of just it just came back even along that trip to from Maryland to Texas driving is, I listen to a lot of different types of music, but there's certain music that reminds me of being a young male and boy, where I had a father that I was looking up to, and I really didn't have any worry in the world. I could do anything because if I got in too much trouble, my dad would take care of it, my mom would take care of it, or my big sisters would take care of me, right? There was an audacity in it where I could just be free to just live life without anxiety and worry. And there's music that connects me to that, right? And I remember flipping on the music like as I was riding after that. And part of that exchange, like we can do it with the memories of our parents and earlier times in life, but we can also, for me, do it spiritually where that's what's coming in for me. But putting on that music and it began to bring me back and it helped because all that stuff is stored in our body, right? It's stored in our mind, it's stored in our physiology. And going to that place in our mind, going to that place with the aid of music or an activity elicits some of those things that calm our nervous system, calm our life, helps release some different chemicals, helps some of that cortisol begin to move. So doing those things, man, being really attuned and aware of your body. And I'm sorry, man. I know you give me on one question, and I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
No, your brain. No, this is good. This is so good. We need this. Like I need this. We all need the reminders, I think, and the education of what is really going on. Right? It's like we could jump on Instagram or TikTok and scroll and find these little snippets about like healthy habits, but you're bringing some of the why to it and the kind of the deeper truth and how it's linked to how it's all linked, right? Our bodies are kind of containing some of the things, and this is good. This is really good. As a leader, I know you're implementing this, and you talked about just being as a dad and as someone responsible for your team with your companies and all that. What's Tell us a little bit about Alton, the leader, and maybe a memory of yours of where you felt, let's say, in the zone as a leader, or where something happened that you're just like, man, that was really cool. That was really cool, and walked away. What's been a really meaningful moment for you as a leader?
Yeah. I think I probably have several different ones of those, but they all kind of surround or around engagement with people, right? And most of the times, I look back at our education. West Point, man, had us so task oriented, right? To solve problems at every turn. And any moment, hey, that don't waste your moments. And it's been so hard for me to break, right? That I'm kind of there, right? Still,
Yeah.
but in the midst of it, man, I think every moment that is interrupted in that task oriented, just get things done. I think this really applies to some of the populations that we talk about, right? Like every time, every moment needs to be filled with something and all that, right? And for me, it's when there's an indication that something is actually going wrong or something, or one of my people are affected by something that's going on in their life or something that just maybe just happened in this particular instance, is being able to sit with them and actually attend, right? And attending to someone is, people ask me the question, "Hey, why would you sit with someone at this funeral or this or that?" Like this past weekend, for instance, one of my good friends, his mother was on hospice, and they were, she was intubated, and they were taking out the tube and taking her off life support. So he asked, as a chaplain and also as his friend, "Hey, can you sit and give a word for my family? My mother doesn't want a memorial service, and I just want to, can you just come and share something about her, share something?" I know his mother as well. Encourage my siblings and their partners, And I remember thinking, and I had the time on my schedule. Man, you know, the greatest thing, I had the time on my schedule, man. And usually I would have probably on the backside would have beat myself up because my schedule would have been really packed. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I don't think I could change. But
Mhm.
man, I that's where for me the gratefulness, even though it was a very sad thing. And then giving the bedside service, and then just sitting and kind of waiting around and seeing how she was going to respond, and she ended up passing. Being able to be there and present and take the moments of time, right? Where you're having the heart to heart conversations that go beyond the day to day, but it goes to the existential place, right? Where it's about bigger than just this life, but it's more about legacy. It's more about the things that have been shaped and impacted you. So whenever I get those moments, man, with my team, even if I maybe have an appointment and I sense that, man, I try to grab it. And those are some of the things that allow me to help and push and encourage my team, because I know everybody that works with me now, and this is part of my faith, is they're with me now, but it's really for them to help build what God told them to do. So even if I'm just a catalyst, or I'm showing you something, or I'm training you with something, I'm not here to keep you here forever. I'm just here for this journey, and God has always taken care of what he needed me to do. So that's kind of part of the journey. And I think as you kind of begin to live life, like, and I love your topic, man, unscripted, right? Is because, I can script every minute of my day. West Point taught us well. We can script everything, right? Can script it with tasks, no purpose, all that.
Yep. Yep.
But, and the army too, right? So, but I think, as I've learned to live a little unscripted in the places where it really matters, man, it don't not only helps those that I'm attending to, but man, it actually, like, this is like the contrariness, and we talk about this with being a sponge, right? You receive all this things as a law enforcement or first responder that is maybe harmful, hurtful, or even the words that they may be using to describe you. But you also have to give back justice and peace and comfort and all those things. So it's interesting, man. When I sat with my friend and his family in a very sad and heavy place, it actually was contrary internal to me, man. It actually made me feel more alive. It made me feel better, right? And it made me feel like a feeling of being effective and purposeful in life. But you were sitting with someone sad, and a very sad and potentially hurtful uh circumstance.
Mm.
But in the same time, I felt really alive, and I was grateful after the experience. One, to be thought of, to be called for, but not only that, to be able to be effective in comfort. So it's
Yeah.
things like that. I think that for me, as you go through the journey of life, is especially as a leader, it's not about accomplishing great things and success and all these, like, maybe by a measure of, I built this company or that. It's like, no, who did I actually relate with? Right. And even in that process of sitting bedside at the hospital and seeing a transition, it wasn't about the jobs, man. It wasn't about what position she held. It was about the times. It was about, this is how she poured. Like, she was such a lovely lady, man. She was all over our community. She would hug you, right? When she saw you, she would hug you. And she was a little old lady, and I'm a big dude. And man, she would hug you, and it would be a mother's hug, like from people that she knew and didn't, right? And things like that. It was about the relations, and it reminds you that that's kind of really truly living. So even in leadership, even in other places, it's the reminder that it's about the people. It's never about like the task or the the job or the career, but who the people are.
I hear kind of two things emerging as you're describing that, and one is seeing past the 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 schedule and the task list and
Mhm.
transcending
Yeah.
what the execution's demanding in the moment. And I'm grateful that you said it, because I identify a lot with it. Easy to go into a task orientation
Yeah.
and get all mission driven, get this thing done, whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And I have missed many moments that I could have lived differently had I been looking for, had I been aware of there's something bigger going on here than just the details of this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And then, and in other moments where I have been able to see, hey, something bigger is going on. I need to pause
Yeah.
and look for that. So I hear of just even being aware and practicing our awareness, expecting these moments to happen. Because we still got to get the tasks done, right? There are things that we have schedules, we have tasks, but being able to see past when those moments are. The other is I hear from you an encouragement that no matter who I am as a leader, I am able to do this, right? And I think a lot of us can get, you think about the uncomfortable moments, and I know you've seen this of like when people are going through grief and the outlandish things that people may say sometimes, right? And even in the midst of, and part of it I think comes from, I feel I have to do something, I have to offer something, say something, and I don't feel equipped. And so some of us will veer away from those moments because it's uncomfortable and I'm not sure. And others of us may jump in too hastily because I feel I have to fix it, do something. We have this preconceived notion. But what I hear from you is that like you have something to offer simply by being there, even if I'm quiet the whole time, and just be present and help carry the burden, I think is what I'm hearing kind of between the lines.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, there's many times, and counseling, has trained me in that really well. Chaplaincy, really as well, right? Sometimes we can overtalk, right, because we are uncomfortable with the silence. And whenever it really becomes about me, like for me, this is a good check for me. Whenever it becomes about me, then I'm not actually attending to the person, right? If the silence becomes too uncomfortable for me, I'm not tending to that person, right? Because they may need, and the many examples in the counseling session or coaching sessions that I do is sometimes you point something out and then you just be quiet. They may be thinking about it. And I remember early on where I would kind of hop in and be like, well, this is what I meant. And they were doing some work already in their mind, whether it was the cognitive work, maybe it was a heart thing, maybe it was a spirit thing that was working for them, and I interrupted that process. So being able to allow them to have the space, and then even as you're comforting someone, is sometimes it's not just a word. Sometimes it's just a squeeze of the hand or the hand on the shoulder, right? We communicate so many different ways, and as I said, that nervous system to nervous system, right? And having capacity. And that's one thing I'll if you allow me, I know you allowed me to go so many different places.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the capacity, and especially as a leader, we sometimes think just capacity is the capacity of tasks that I could actually get done and jobs that I can hold. But true capacity is the ability to attend to the people around you and allow them, and especially I say this sort of as a father, as a business owner, as a chaplain, other things that I do in the community, is the capacity to allow people around you to be themselves, make mistakes, be like the one to be creative and innovative around you is kind of what the capacity is. It's not to keep them in line and wrapped in these parameters. It's actually allow them to fulfill what they feel they're called to do. And with you as a leader, can they make mistakes? Can they be quiet? Can they be in the seasons where it doesn't look like what we read in all our leadership books, right? No. Our capacity has to do with, can we help the burdens? Can we work with? Can we lift? Can we encourage? Can we train? Can we push forward? Right? And then also the other side, right? Do we need to fire? Do we need to move people out? But all of that takes the capacity, and it's not just about like just completing tasks. So when we talk about like the capacity, it has to be that whole soul. You bring in the whole person there. It's not just your ability to get tasks done.
What is your definition of a leader?
Man, I should have had that prepared. I should have had that one. But I think of leaders in many ways, but I would say it's anyone that first takes the responsibility and accountability of those that are around them or a situation or a task and uses not just one, the physical brute strength, but every component that is available to them, right? The influence of people, the ability to solve problems, the ability to listen and learn and use all components of you. But it's not narrowed down to someone that is born that way. It's learned. It can be learned. It can be improved on, right? So there's a whole bunch of things I said about what I think about a leader.
I like where you went first to really the leader's posture and really mindset of taking responsibility and accountability. And I think so often, I know you've heard this too. So often someone will say, well, I don't have a formal leadership position or management position. And yet we've both seen organizations that thrive often have informal leaders, no position title
Yeah.
necessarily, or at least not
No.
senior, but
Mhm.
who have taken responsibility and accountability to say, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to input, I'm going to own this and make it
Mhm.
better
Yeah.
and impact the people
Yeah.
around me. I love that. I love that dialing in. Can you tell us a bit about what you've got going on with Insight? I know we get these little, you and I get these moments along like every few months, and we'll get this little snapshot, and then you're doing
Yeah.
something here, and you've got a lot of efforts, you got a lot of cool things going on that are helping people real time every day. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, man, thank you for the space at Insight Counseling and Training Center and Insight Health is a partnership of two companies that provide psychiatry, med management for mental health. We also do psychology for testing, assessment. We do counseling and therapy, individual, group, adolescents, children. And then we also do coaching where we understand like sometimes the difference between someone that really needs forward movement. It's not just looking backwards and reevaluating everything that from the past. If there's some emotional stability there, then it's let's go forward and get some momentum in your life and things like that. And then we also do some neuromodulation with TMS, a few things there. What we have been working on the last year is similar to what you're doing, man. The podcast. We have the Inside the Heart of Insight is coming and it's launching here soon. We talk about different issues. We focus on faith, leadership, and mental health. Those three areas of topics is where we are really focusing and called to. Um, we like to we're launching Insight University, which is a learning platform where which the app is Insight Thrive is the app, and you can get it on the Apple or Google store, where there's courses on dealing with what we talked about today, some of the stress, how to live whole souled, how to bring all of you places and not these compartments that, right, as we talk about in families, that I only knew my father as this person, but there's this whole other portion of who he was. So different things like that are kind of where we're working. We're pushing that, and then we're trying to make sure that we are engaging our community in Belton and Georgetown, Texas, and doing some work in the Maryland area from where I'm from. So trying to expand and work and just be part of a solution for someone. We know we don't have all the answers, but integratively with mental health, where if there's med management, if there's counseling, coaching, if there's some neuromodulation with your brain waves and activity in parts of your brain that need to be changed, that's what we're trying to help with and cause improvement for whatever you need. So
I'm familiar with TMS. Many listening are not. Give us the quick down and dirty. What is this thing?
yeah, so TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. It was initially used for treatment resistant depression as a adjunctive or an additional treatment. And now they found many other uses. So it's using brain waves, it's using stimulation, magnetic stimulation to cause parts of the brain. When we think about depression, there's actually like a suppression of activity, like something that's causing it not to be as active. So what this does is stimulate it, and it's on the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, usually for depression. But now there's more treatments for PTSD, for OCD, all these other type of treatment that TMS helps with. And now there's some cutting edge things with EEGs that you can actually assess the brain waves in different portion of the brain to make sure that they're firing optimally, and that they like your thought processes are going great from front to back. So from the things that you perceive to the way you can function to your hindbrain, that the automatic systems in your body are all lined up. So, we're maximizing those processes, and hopefully, man, we get smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do people find you at Insight?
So you can reach out to me at Insight. It's admin, ADMIN at Insight, INSIGHT-CC.org. And they can find us online at insight-cc.org. And you can see all those things. You can go to our download our app, which is Insight Thrive app. You can download. There's some courses on there. We're launching more soon. And then you can also find us on YouTube and all the social media platforms at Insight CTC or CTX.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Alton. Last question for you. We're in January of 2026, not quite halfway through January when we're recording this. What are you looking forward to in 26? What are you excited about?
Man, I'm actually excited just to, I think, enjoy life a little bit more, man. I think everything that I shared about, what happened in Atlanta and other things are good. But, right, I think last year I was in such that task-oriented building phase. I think there's some reprieve from it, even though we're going to really be building even more this year. But there's some reprieve from that, and we have more systems. And my wife, Dr. Lindy, is actually join me in the work. So it's making it even easier for me to be able to stand away and enjoy, man. So really enjoyment this year is something I'm looking forward to.
Love it. Well, thanks for spending some of your time with us. Appreciate it. Glad to get the chance to sit down. Thanks, Alton.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow along on our YouTube where we release our episodes early. We hope today's conversation inspired you, and we'd love to hear what insights you took away. So please comment below, and we look forward to seeing you next time.